Hello, people of YouTube. This is Financially Ruined. I am your host, Steve Gray. Thank you for watching. So today's topic is going to be about saving money, how to do it, and what to do with it, essentially. Ultimately, if you can invest it and not touch it, that's the goal, is invest it, don't touch it, let it just keep building up, and then that's your retirement fund or your rainy day fund, something along those lines. But the word that I'm going to use a lot in this video is inaccessibility. And the reason I'm using the word inaccessibility is because if you're constantly spending all of your money the second you get it, things along those lines, you're always buying stuff or whatever, you got to make it harder to get. So you got to put it in something that there are multiple steps in order for you to get it back, that it's annoying enough to the point that you're not going to touch it, so that way you can leave it there and let it earn you some more money. One of those ways is a high yield savings account. So if you do a high yield savings account, you can't just go to an ATM and withdraw money from it. You ultimately have to either go online, use the banking app on your phone, move it from the high yield savings into the regular savings, or move it from the high yield savings to the checkings account, whatever, because those are the only two things you can get at an ATM. And I know because I have a high yield savings account and I made that mistake going to an ATM. The bank was closed. I don't do banking on my phone. That's just a personal thing. Some people do, some people don't. I'm not one of them. And I had to go back home, move money, and then go back out to the ATM, which was very, very annoying. In order to get a couple $100, but it is what it is. Another way to do this too, through traditional banking, is CDs. So definitely check the rate for the CDs, because they're not always the best. But typically you have to keep it in that CD for 6 months to 2 or 3 years, and you can't touch it. If you take it out, there's penalties and you lose money. So that is incentive for you to not touch it. It's inaccessible. That money, it's making you money, but you're not touching it. Gold and silver. We did do a video about gold and silver in the past, and I told you at the moment don't buy it because it's too high. It has gone down a little bit, so maybe buy a little bit, but that is another option. If you buy physical silver or physical gold or platinum or palladium, any of the precious metals really, you have to go to a store. You can't just be like, okay, here's an ounce of gold, because why would you be like, okay, here's $4,500? I think it's more than that right now for an ounce of gold. But you're not going to be paying people on an ounce of gold, or you're not going to be paying people on American Eagle. So yes, it is legal tender in American Eagle. I think it's like a $50 coin, but it's worth so much more than that. You're not actually spending that. So you have to go to one of these gold and silver shops or jewelry store or something somewhere in order to physically sell that ounce of gold, that ounce of silver, or whatever precious metal you have, and then get the cash. So it's slowing you down. At the very least, you're more incentive to just leave it alone because you're not physically touching that thing. Well, you are physically touching the coin, but you can't just go, okay, I'm going to pay you with silver, because I can't think of anybody that actually does that. Who's just like, here's an ounce of silver, this is worth $80. Give me that item. People don't do that. So the process is essentially just do things that slow you down with the money. Stocks. Let's talk about stocks. That's the big one that probably the majority of you are thinking of, if you haven't. It's fine to have stocks. It's fine to have slow growers. You can play around, but what I would recommend is do not attach a checkings or savings account. So do it through whatever banking thing you want to do, but make it inaccessible. So make it so they have to physically write you a check in the mail. So say you have, we'll say you have $5,000 worth of stocks in, we'll just make it all Amazon. And then, okay, price of Amazon stock went up. Now I have $6,000. Okay, I made $1,000. I want that $1,000 right now. But, oh, wait, I don't have a checkings or savings account through this bank that I'm using, or whoever you're using, to get the money. So I would have to set up a checkings or savings account in order to do that. I don't feel like doing that, so I'm just going to leave the money in there and let it go. That's kind of the idea, is you're saving it by making it inaccessible to yourself. That's what you have to do. If there's multiple extra steps, you're less incentivized to go and actually pull that money out. Things that, will go up in value. Collectibles. That is another thing. If you invest in some sort of collectibles like comic books or Legos, some video games, not a lot. I know there's a lot of video games that are worth nothing. So, if you know what you're doing, essentially, and you're using it as an investment, you can't just be like, okay, here's my copy of, here's my first issue Spider-Man comic, or here's my sealed Pokemon Emerald, or something along those lines. Nerdy stuff, because the shirt. But you can't just immediately get cash for it. You'd have to either list it on eBay, list it on Marketplace or Craigslist, something along those lines, and get somebody to meet somewhere or come to your house to give you the cash. So you're more incentive to hold on to that item because there is a process of getting that cash. In my case, it's guitars. Not a lot. I don't constantly sell my guitars, but that's another thing with hobbies too. Is try to break even at the very least. That's typically what I say with hobbies. But that can be saved. I don't know. Did I do a video about hobbies? I'm forgetting if I did or didn't. But that can be saved for another day. But the gist of the video is just make it harder for yourself. If you're having trouble saving money, and I understand you have bills, and maybe at the end of the month you only have like $50, even if it's only $50 to play with. Do something with it that makes it inaccessible. Don't go, oh, well, I have $50. I'm going to go splurge on a nice dinner or, whatever. I'm going to go buy some random brand new video game that in a month is going to be worth half of what I paid for it. You don't really want to do that either. I understand, fun is fun. But if you're trying to save money, you have to think with a little bit of a different mindset. You have to figure out, what is worth it, what isn't worth it, and ultimately just make things slightly annoying for yourself. And if they're annoying enough where you're like, I don't feel like doing that, I don't want to sell that, I don't feel like moving money and logging in my bank account, I don't feel like trying to go somewhere to unload some silver and get some cash, so on and so forth, because it's an inconvenience, then you're just going to hold on to it. You're going to keep it, you're going to hold on to it, it's going to sit there, and it's going to make you more money in the long run. And that's ultimately the goal, is having enough money saved up where maybe you're making an extra 10 grand a year because you got $100,000 just chilling in some stocks, and they give you about 10% roughly every year. So that's nice to have an extra 10 grand in your pocket every year. Definitely can help you with bills, definitely can help you with expenses. Something goes wrong with the car, some sort of major appliance craps out in your house or apartment, so on and so forth. So that's kind of my 2 cents. So how to save properly, I think I'm going to say, or how to make saving inaccessible. No, I don't like that word. I like it better. We'll figure out a title. But until next time, like, share, comment, subscribe. All of it helps. And as always, have a good one.